It's the late 1950s, and America is buzzing with optimism. The post-war boom has families flocking to suburbs, televisions flickering in every home, and Hollywood churning out dreams for a nation eager to escape into stories. This is the golden age of television, where shows like I Love Lucy and The Andy Griffith Show define wholesome entertainment. But beneath the polished surface, the entertainment industry is a pressure cooker, especially for children thrust into its spotlight. In West Lafayette, Indiana, a college town anchored by Purdue University, a little girl named Mary Anissa Jones was born on March 11, 1958. Her name, pronounced Unisa, is Lebanese, meaning little friend, a nod to her maternal grandparents' heritage. It's a fitting name for a child who will soon win hearts across the country, though she'll carry the weight of that charm far too young. Anissa's early years are shaped by a family both ambitious and fractured. Her father, John Paul Jones, is an engineering graduate and faculty member at Purdue, a man of intellect and drive. Her mother, Mary Paula Tweel, is a zoology student, vibrant and determined with a flair for the dramatic. Their meeting at Purdue is scandalous for its time. A faculty member and a student, their romance raising eyebrows before they marry and start a family. Anissa is their first child, followed by a younger brother, John Paul Jr., nicknamed Paul, in 1960. The family's life in Indiana is modest but filled with promise, a snapshot of the American dream. Yet cracks are already forming. By the time Anissa is 5, the family uproots to Charleston, West Virginia, chasing new opportunities. It's a brief stop before a bigger move that will change everything. In 1963, they settle in Playa del Rey, California, where John takes a job in aerospace engineering, and Hollywood's orbit begins to pull them in. California in the early 1960s is a land of sun-soaked ambition. The entertainment industry is booming, with television networks like CBS and NBC hungry for fresh faces to capture the growing audience glued to their sets. Anissa's mother, Mary, sees potential in her daughter's cherubic face and lively spirit. She's a stage mother in the making, driven by a mix of pride and pragmatism. At just 4 years old, Anissa is enrolled in dance classes, her tiny feet tapping to rhythms that hint at a future in performance. Mary's ambitions for her daughter are clear, and the neighbors in Playa del Rey notice Anissa's charm too. She's a natural, they say, urging Mary to take her to auditions. The suggestion lights a spark. By 1964, at the age of 6, Anissa landed her first gig, a breakfast cereal commercial. It's a small step, but it's enough to set her destiny in motion. She's a professional now, her face beaming on screens, selling cornflakes to families across America. But even as Anissa's star begins to rise, her family life is crumbling. Her parents' marriage, strained by ambition and clashing personalities, falls apart. By 1965, John and Mary divorce, leaving Anissa and her brother caught in a bitter custody battle. The split is messy, with Mary pushing to keep control of her children, while John fights for his role in their lives. For Anissa, just 7 years old, the turmoil is a quiet backdrop to her budding career, but it's a wound that festers. She's a sensitive child, described by those who knew her as introspective, with a vivid imagination that finds solace in her dolls and make-believe worlds. On set, she's professional beyond her years, but off-camera, she's a little girl navigating a fractured home, her mother's fierce ambition, and a father who's slipping out of her life. In 1966, Anissa's big break arrived. At 8 years old, she's cast as Ava Elizabeth Buffy, Patterson Davis in Family Affair, a CBS sitcom created by Don Feddersen. The show is a wholesome fantasy. 3 orphaned siblings, Buffy, her twin brother Jody, and older sister Sissy, are sent to live with their wealthy bachelor uncle Bill Davis and his valet Mr. French in a luxurious New York apartment. Anissa, small for her age, is perfect for Buffy, a 6-year-old character with blonde pigtails and a penchant for her doll, Mrs. Beasley. Her audition is a revelation. Producers Edmund Boulogne and Henry Garson see something special in her, a natural ability to convey innocence, pride, and vulnerability. She's a shoo-in, they say, and they're right. When Family Affair premieres in September 1966, it's an instant hit, climbing to number 1 in the ratings by 1969. Anissa, alongside co-stars Johnny Whitaker, Kathy Garver, Brian Keith, and Sebastian Cabot, becomes a household name. The role of Buffy is a double-edged sword. Anissa's performance is effortless, her charm radiating through every episode. She's the emotional heart of the show, her scenes, with Mrs. Beasley tugging at viewers' heartstrings. The doll itself becomes a cultural phenomenon, marketed by Mattel and selling out across North America. Anissa's face is everywhere, on lunchboxes, paper dolls, coloring books, even a cookbook cover. She's a juvenile celebrity guest starring on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, hosting the Hollywood Palace, and chatting on the Mike Douglas Show and the Merv Griffin Show. In 1969, she makes her film debut with a small role in The Trouble with Girls, starring Elvis Presley. At just 11 years old, she's living a life most adults can't fathom, flown across the country for publicity stunts, shaking hands with sponsors, and smiling for cameras. But the grind is relentless. Family Affair films year-round, often demanding 7-day weeks to meet network deadlines. Anissa's childhood is consumed by work, her days spent memorizing lines and hitting marks while her peers play at school. Behind the scenes, Anissa's kindness shines through. She's close to her brother Paul, who often accompanies her to the studio. When gifts arrive for her, a common perk of stardom, she insists on an identical one for Paul, or she gives hers away. "If Paul doesn't get one, I don't want it," she'd say, her voice firm despite her age. Her generosity extends to the crew. When Earl Graham, a janitor on the Family Affair set, passes away, Anissa convinces her mother to place a $400 ad in Variety magazine to honor him. "He was my friend," she explains simply. These moments reveal a child with a big heart, navigating a world that's both glamorous and isolating. Yet the pressure is mounting. Her mother's relentless drive pushes Anissa harder, and the custody battle with her father adds emotional strain. She's expected to be perfect, Buffy, the ideal child, while grappling with real-life chaos. By 1970, Family Affair is at its peak, but Anissa, now 12, is starting to feel the weight of her role. She's growing up, but her character remains frozen as a 6-year-old, complete with pigtails and that ever-present doll. Off-screen, she's a teenager craving normalcy, but the public still sees her as Buffy. The show's merchandising machine keeps churning, tying her identity to a character she's outgrowing. Anissa confides in close friends about her frustration, once saying, "I'm tired of being Buffy. I just want to be me." Her mother, however, sees no end to the opportunities, pushing her to keep going. The divorce has left Mary as the primary breadwinner, and Anissa's earnings are a lifeline. The tension between mother and daughter simmers, a quiet conflict that will only deepen in the years to come. As Family Affair near its end in 1971, Anissa is 13 and ready to leave Buffy behind. The show's cancellation after 5 seasons and 138 episodes is a relief. "I can go to school now, be normal," she tells a friend, her eyes lighting up at the thought. She's eager to shed the doll, the pigtails, and the spotlight. But Hollywood isn't kind to child stars transitioning to adulthood. Anissa auditions for new roles, including a high-profile chance to play Regan in The Exorcist. Director William Friedkin passes her over, reportedly because she's too well known as Buffy. The rejection stings, a reminder that her iconic role is both a blessing and a curse. Another opportunity comes from Brian Keith, her on-screen uncle, who offers her a part in his new show, The Brian Keith Show, without an audition. Anissa declines, yearning to break free from acting altogether. She enrolls at Westchester High School in Los Angeles, hoping to reclaim the childhood she's missed. But normalcy is elusive. Anissa's home life is unraveling. In 1973, her father won custody of her and Paul, a victory that briefly brought stability. Tragically, John dies of heart disease soon after, leaving Anissa devastated. At 15, she's lost her father, her anchor, and the one parent who seemed to understand her desire for a quieter life. She moves in with a friend, avoiding her mother's home where tensions are high. Mary reports her as a runaway, and Anissa is arrested, spending months in a juvenile detention center. The experience is humiliating, a stark contrast to the adoration she once knew. When she's finally allowed to return to her mother's house, the rift between them is wider than ever. Anissa starts skipping school, hanging out with older friends, and experimenting with drugs, a dangerous escape from the pain of her fractured family and fading fame. By 1975, Anissa was 17, and her life was spiraling. She drops out of high school and takes a job at Winchell's Donuts in Playa del Rey, a far cry from the sound stages of CBS. Customers recognize her, whispering, "Isn't that Buffy?" The attention embarrasses her, a reminder of a past she can't escape. She's shoplifting now, small acts of rebellion that hint at deeper turmoil. Friends notice her mood swings, her once bright spirit dimming. She seemed lost, a childhood friend later recalls, like she didn't know who she was without the cameras. Anissa's brother Paul is struggling too, caught in the same family dysfunction. The siblings move into a rented apartment together, clinging to each other as they navigate a world that feels increasingly out of control. In March 1976, Anissa turned 18, a milestone that brings a flicker of hope. She gains access to her family affair earnings, a trust fund worth $180,000, plus U.S. savings bonds. It's a chance to start over, to build a life on her terms. She dreams of leaving Hollywood behind, maybe traveling or finding a new path. But money also brings temptation. Anissa starts partying with a new crowd, including her boyfriend, Alan Butch Coven, in the beach town of Oceanside, California. The drugs that were once an escape become a habit: cocaine, PCP, methaqualone, and Seconal, a powerful barbiturate. Her friends worry, but Anissa brushes them off, her laughter masking the pain. "I'm fine," she insists, but her eyes tell a different story. One lesser-known incident from this period reveals Anissa's vulnerability. In June 1976, she's arrested for shoplifting at a local store in Oceanside. It's a minor offense, stealing a few small items. But the police report paints a picture of a girl adrift. When questioned, Anissa is polite but distant, her answers clipped. "I don't know why I did it," she mumbles, avoiding eye contact. The incident barely makes the local papers, but it's a red flag, a sign that the girl who once charmed millions is struggling to find her place. Her friends try to intervene, urging her to slow down. "You're better than this," one tells her, but Anissa brushes it off with a laugh. "I'm just living," she says, but her eyes betray the lie. These moments, rarely mentioned in accounts of her life, show a young woman caught between defiance and despair, searching for an identity beyond Buffy. Anissa's relationships during this time are a tangled web of love, loyalty, and dysfunction. Her bond with Paul is the most enduring, rooted in their shared childhood and the trauma of their parents' divorce. They're each other's anchor, but also each other's mirror, reflecting the same destructive patterns. Paul, like Anissa, is using drugs, and their late-night talks, once filled with dreams, now circle around regrets. "We should have stayed in Indiana," Anissa says once, half joking, her voice heavy with what-ifs. Her relationship with their mother, Mary, is strained to the breaking point. Mary, who once orchestrated Anissa's rise to fame, is now a distant figure living in Los Angeles and struggling to reconnect with her children. Anissa avoids her calls, still resentful of the years spent under her mother's ambitious thumb. "She wanted Buffy, not me," Anissa confides to a friend, the words cutting deep. Then there's Butch Coven, the boyfriend who becomes a central figure in Anissa's final months. Butch is charismatic, with a bad boy edge that draws Anissa in. They meet through mutual friends in Oceanside, and their chemistry is instant. He's a surfer, a dreamer, but also a heavy drug user, and their relationship is fueled by shared highs. Friends describe them as inseparable, often seen walking hand in hand along the pier, but also volatile, their arguments loud and tearful. "They were crazy about each other," a friend later recalls, "but it was a mess." Butch introduces Anissa to new circles, including a group tied to a local doctor, Dr. Don Carlos Mochos, who's known for prescribing powerful drugs with little oversight. Anissa and Butch get Seconal from him, a drug that will play a deadly role in her story. Whether Butch is a villain or just another lost soul is unclear, but his influence pulls Anissa deeper into a world she's not equipped to navigate. Another overlooked relationship is with Helen Hennessy, a friend from Anissa's Playa del Rey days. Helen, a few years older, is one of the few who tries to keep Anissa grounded. They'd known each other since Anissa's family affair days when Helen's family lived nearby. In the summer of 1976, Helen visits Anissa in Oceanside, alarmed by her friend's appearance. "She was so thin, her eyes all glassy," Helen later shares in an interview. She tries to talk Anissa into leaving Oceanside, even offering her a place to stay in Los Angeles. Anissa listens, her face softening, but ultimately refuses. "I'm okay here," she insists, hugging Helen tightly. It's a moment that haunts Helen, a missed chance to pull Anissa back from the brink. These personal connections, Paul, Mary, Butch, Helen, reveal the emotional currents tugging at Anissa, each one shaping her choices in ways she can't fully grasp. The events of August 1976 bring Anissa's story to its tragic climax. On August 27th, she's at a party at the home of a friend, Linda Hughes, in Oceanside. It's a typical night. Music blaring, drugs circulating, a mix of familiar faces and newcomers. Anissa's in high spirits, laughing and dancing, her energy infectious. She's been using Seconal heavily, mixing it with other substances, a combination that's increasingly reckless. Sometime after midnight, she tells Butch she's tired and heads to a bedroom to rest. The next morning, August 28th, Linda checks on her and finds Anissa unresponsive. Panic sets in. Paramedics are called, but it's too late. Anissa Jones, just 18 years old, is pronounced dead at 11:29 a.m. The coroner's report later confirms the cause: a massive overdose of barbiturates with lethal levels of Seconal in her system combined with cocaine, PCP, and methaqualone. It's one of the worst overdoses the San Diego County coroner has ever seen. The aftermath is a storm of grief and controversy. Anissa's death makes headlines, shocking fans who still remember her as Buffy. "Child star dies in drug horror," one tabloid screams, while others speculate about Hollywood's curse on its young. Her mother Mary is devastated, blaming herself for losing touch with her daughter. Paul, now 16, is shattered, his own struggles worsening in the wake of his sister's death. Butch, questioned by police, insists he didn't know how much Anissa had taken. The investigation turns to Dr. Mochos, whose prescriptions fueled the party scene. In a rare twist, Moshos is indicted for illegally prescribing Seconal, a small measure of accountability in a tragedy with many culprits. But the legal battle is overshadowed by a broader question. Who failed Anissa? Was it her mother's ambition, Hollywood's pressure, or a society that adored her as a child, but ignored her as a struggling teen? Controversies swirl around Anissa's death with differing accounts of her final days. Some friends claim she was trying to cut back on drugs, citing moments when she talked about getting clean. She wanted to start over, one says, pointing to her plans to travel. Others argue she was too far gone, her addiction too deep to escape. The role of Dr. Moshos sparks debate, with some calling him a predator who preyed on vulnerable youth, while others see him as a symptom of a lax medical system. Then there's the question of Hollywood itself. Anissa's story reignites discussions about child stars, with advocates pushing for stronger protections like the Coogan Act, which safeguards earnings but does little for emotional well-being. Critics point to Family Affair's grueling schedule and the typecasting that trapped Anissa as Buffy, arguing the industry chewed her up and spit her out. These debates, still relevant today, underscore the complexity of her tragedy. No single villain, but a web of failures. Anissa's death leaves a void, but its impact ripples far beyond 1976. Her story becomes a cautionary tale, a touchstone in conversations about fame's dark side. In the years that follow, other child stars, Dana Plato, River Phoenix, Corey Haim, face similar struggles, their fates echoing Anissa's. Her name is invoked in documentaries, books, and articles, a symbol of lost innocence. Family Affair, once a beloved sitcom, takes on a bittersweet tint, its reruns watched with a pang of sorrow. Anissa's face, forever young on lunchboxes and dolls, is a reminder of a girl who gave so much and received so little in return. Culturally, she shapes a growing awareness of mental health and addiction, issues that were rarely discussed in the 1970s, but are now central to how we view celebrity. Her legacy also lives on in quieter ways. In Oceanside, locals still share stories of the bright-eyed girl who surfed and laughed, a fleeting presence who left a mark. Paul, who survives her by only 15 years, dying of an overdose in 1991, carries her memory in his own tragic arc. Mary, who passes away in 1998, spends her final years reflecting on her daughter, donating Anissa's Mrs. Beasley dolls to charity in a gesture of closure. Fans, especially those who grew up watching Family Affair, keep Anissa's memory alive through online forums and tribute pages, sharing photos and memories of a girl who felt like family. She was our Buffy, one writes, and we should have taken better care of her. This sentiment captures the emotional weight of Anissa's story, a collective regret for a child star who slipped through the cracks. As we close this chapter, picture Anissa one last time, not as Buffy, not as a headline, but as the girl she wanted to be. Imagine her on that oceanside beach, the waves crashing, her smile catching the light. She's 18, full of dreams she'll never chase, but in that moment she's free. Her life was a comet, brilliant, fleeting, and unforgettable. Anissa Jones wasn't cursed by fate, but by a world that loved her too much and not enough. Her story, etched in Hollywood's shadows, asks us to remember her not just for how she died, but for how she lived, fiercely, flawed, and forever a little friend to us all. That's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button, drop us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss our new content. Thanks for watching.